guys. Welcome to the Anfield Review Live. I'm MW James. This is your Liverpool News podcast, guys. We are live on what is match day. Title, I think, of the podcast, time for change. I think time for change on a number of things. Time for change tonight in terms of the team's form, in terms of the way the team is currently playing. I think we definitely need to see that, a real change in our fortunes, in on the pitch, especially at Anfield. Turning Anfield back into that fortress is absolutely a must for me. Time for change at the top of the club as well. I think that is obviously, we will talk about that a little bit in this video. We'll also obviously majorly look ahead to the game this evening at Anfield as Liverpool take on Galatasaray 1-0 down from the first leg in the Champions League. And hoping that obviously this won't be our final Champions League fixture for a couple of years, maybe. You never know, with the way the season is currently going. Would obviously welcome your comments. If you don't catch the podcast live, no worries. Please obviously smash a like on the video. Obviously, please drop me a comment as well. Love to know your thoughts on the channel. Love to know your thoughts on as well where we are as a club currently and where you are as a fan currently. Because, look, I'll be honest with you. First of all, thank you for your support, guys. We've grown over the last few weeks, really pushed it a little bit now. We are up to 214 subscribers. Of course, we want to get to 1,000 subscribers as soon as is possible. The sooner we hit 1,000, the more we can do with the channel, the more we can put into the channel, the more we can develop this channel and build you a fan community. I'm very much like Craig in terms of the way of Anfield Agenda, in terms of the way I work, that I will always speak my mind. I'll always speak as I think it is. But I don't discard your opinions, and your opinions are as important as mine. I'm not one of these that is arrogant to think that I can just sit here, talk about the club, talk about what I think and ignore what you've got to say as fans. Your opinion is just as valid as anyone else's. So obviously, please smash a like and please subscribe to the channel. Help us to keep on growing and going on this channel. Look, I think, there's a lot going on at the moment around the club in terms of the form, in terms of the debate around the manager. And I've got to say, one of the things that is most worrying for me is you read tonight, and I've actually been out walking the dog, putting together the notes for the pod. Whilst I was doing that, I was reading some social media stuff, and I get social media, poisonous place, can be a pretty dreadful place to be. But most worrying at the same point, you get a kind of feeling for where some people are in terms of, what their thoughts are on the game, what their thoughts are on the club, and where we're going as a club. I think that is a big one. And I'll be absolutely honest with you, the situation at this moment in time is not good. You actually see fans on social media writing stuff like, can't be asked for the game tonight, don't want to watch the game tonight. I was listening to Red Men earlier, and Chloe Bloxham. I love Chloe Bloxham. I think Chloe's absolutely brilliant. There's a fair few on that Red Men I've got no time or respect for, but Chloe, Abby, both speak their mind, both speak as is. And Abby, Chloe was really spot on with what she said. She said that she used to be so desperate to get to the game, so desperate to be at Anfield. After one game finished, it'd be how long till I can get back? How long till I can become a, get back to the to watching the game? And that's just gone. The enthusiasm has been kicked out of the fans this season, and there is no enthusiasm there at all from the fans to watch the games. There genuinely isn't. There's just a lot of people who just cannot be bothered because the football is so dull. It is boring. It's almost like, I think the best analogy I heard was that when Klopp came, he turned Liverpool fans from doubters to believers. Now Slot has turned Liverpool fans from believers to doubters. We've gone from heavy metal football to elevator music. And as I said on the videos all this week so far, and over the weekend as well, if we were playing Galatasaray tonight under the lights with Jurgen Klopp as the manager at Anfield, I'll tell you something, 5-0. Easy 4 or 5-0 victory for Liverpool tonight. We'd smash them. We'd absolutely smash them. But under Slot, under the lights at Anfield, genuinely don't know. Genuinely do not know what will happen. Who knows? Who knows? Right, let's touch on this news as regards Richard Hughes. and the links to Al Hilal. Now, I brought you a video yesterday on the channel talking a little bit about that, about the fact that this Saudi journalist was saying that it was a done deal, that Richard Hughes was heading to Al Hilal in the summer, and that some of his staff would already be starting work. Now, the very latest coming out on this situation is that nothing has yet been signed, sealed, delivered on this one yet. So there's no absolute concrete on this. However, in terms of where we're up to with this, he is certainly a very, very strong candidate for the Al Hilal job. Now, Al Hilal have just been purchased by some Saudi prince, apparently, and he is looking to redevelop the club and change the club and kind of, move the team on in terms of where they're at. Look, the Saudi league, for me, it's a bit of a joke. It's a retirement league. You don't go there if you're a serious footballer. You don't go there if you're a serious manager. But apparently this is according to a journalist in The Telegraph, a guy called Jason Burt, who is the chief football correspondent for The Telegraph. He says that Richard Hughes is on a 3-strong shortlist to become the new director, sporting director at Saudi Pro League club Al Hilal. So apparently he is on a 1 in 3 option for them. Like I said, it isn't a done deal. Now, the Saudi journalist is Ahmed Al-Hijan, who said that the Saudi Pro League team had reached an agreement with Liverpool over this. Now, apparently, according to Jason Burt, who is the, like I said, is this chief football correspondent, he says that no formal agreement is in place. Now, there is this Saudi journalist who said only the contract signing remained. Jason Burt is saying that this is not the case. He's saying from Liverpool's side, there's been no discussion over Richard Hughes' future or any indication that he might be open to leaving. Now, while obviously it remains to be seen whether over the next few months there will be a firming up of that interest in Richard Hughes, the Saudi club apparently have him as just one name on this 3-man shortlist. So there's no sort of concrete stories that he will depart in the summer. Now, according to the stories that are coming out of Saudi, one of the big attraction forces for bringing Richard Hughes to Saudi Arabia is because they think and they feel that by bringing Richard Hughes, it is another way of making sure that they win the race to sign Mo Salah in the summer. According to reports, Al Hilal very, very much interested in bringing Mo to the Saudi Pro League in the summer. They want Salah to be kind of like the new poster boy, poster man, poster guy, I don't know what you call him, of the Saudi Pro League. And they feel that Al Hilal want to get Mo to the club, and Richard Hughes could be a key part of that. Now, look, I know that there is currently a big debate ongoing around Richard Hughes and his role at Liverpool. And I get, there are some within the fan base that think that Richard Hughes should be got rid of, that Richard Hughes should be sacked, that Richard Hughes is not the man for the club. And the reasons obviously given are, and look, we'll kind of play devil's advocate on this one. There's some saying that Richard Hughes has been a failure as Liverpool's sporting director. He hasn't strengthened the squad enough. Even with the fact that, yes, we are missing currently Alexander Isak, Giovanni Leone, Wataru Endo, out injured at this moment in time. They're the key players who are missing. The squad is still fairly threadbare. Beyond that, you look at the bench on Saturday and it's not a massively strong bench. There's a feeling that, he didn't get a 6, he didn't bring in a centre half. He failed on a number of levels to strengthen the squad enough to give the manager enough options to change the game. Which, look, I can understand to some degree. The bench on Saturday, Salah, Chiesa, Jones, Ekitike, Nioni, Konate, Kirkes, Mamardashvili and Ramsey was probably the strongest it's been in quite a while, actually. But, you're still missing a 6 from that. Yes, Konate's on the bench, but realistically, he's the starting centre-half. If he's not there, who's the backup centre-half? Who's the backup right back there? I know, obviously, Conor Bradley is out injured. But, look, there's a feeling that there isn't enough strength in depth there. The wing is obviously another thing that hasn't really been addressed with the leaving of Luis Diaz. So, there's obviously that kind of comment that Richard Hughes hasn't done enough to strengthen the squad. Now, yes, some of that could be well on Richard Hughes, the fact that he has not strengthened the squad enough. Some of that also, I think is very much on Arne Slot. Arne Slot has kind of said it, and this is documented all across, a number of sources saying that Arne Slot doesn't like a big team to work, big squad to work with. He wants a small squad. So, where's the truth on this one? I think it's somewhere in between. Now, the other thing, of course, that is held up against Richard Hughes on a number of occasions on this whole thing is the contract situation. The fact that he seems to struggle to get contracts done. Obviously, Ryan Gravenberch is signed, sealed, delivered on a long-term deal. We obviously eventually managed to get the Mo Salah deals and the Virgil van Dijk deal done. But the Trent Alexander-Arnold situation, which dragged on and made the club look stupid and made the player look stupid to some degree, that, people say that's on Hughes. And then the continual failure this year to get the Ibu Konate deal over the line, a deal that's been kind of negotiated since October 2024. It's coming up for sort of 18 months now that contract has been talked about, and still Hughes has not managed to get it done and dusted. There's the situation, of course, ongoing with trying to get McAllister under contract, trying to get Sobbo under contract for long term. So there's a lot of sort of moving parts there, and there's a lot of situation where Richard Hughes is kind of been blamed for that situation. So, that's the kind of the negatives. The positives, of course, of Richard Hughes is the fact that he's brought in some good players. He's brought in some really good players, and it's not his fault that the manager has failed to get the best out of those players, that the manager has failed to get these players to perform to their very peak of their powers. Obviously Isak has been injured, so I suppose you could take him out. Frimpong has had injury spells as well, but has not perhaps reached the heights that we would have liked to have seen from him. Florian Wirtz, certainly not the player that perhaps we thought we were going to be getting. Yes, he is getting better and developing, but still, not at that level yet. Ekitike is probably the best of those signings. Kirkez has developed and improved as well. So, he's certainly brought in some good players. Mamalashvili, I think the jury's still out on him. Personally, not a huge fan of Mamalashvili. I do feel that Mamalashvili is a downgrade on Kelleher. I think as a shot stopper, he's very good. But positionally, his ability to close players, his football intelligence just is not there. So, I don't think that he is particularly a long-term successor to Alisson. But, Richard Hughes arguably has made some good signs. There are pros and cons to Richard Hughes. And also, if Richard was to go, then of course it does raise questions about the future of Arne Slot. Richard Hughes has very much tied his colours to the mast in terms of Arne Slot. We saw on that round table, we've seen in the discussions that as to why Arne Slot was the man who was appointed as the manager of Liverpool. It was down to the fact that Richard Hughes liked this guy, really bought into what Arne was saying, loved Arne's philosophies, loved the way Arne did things, and that's why he's here. So, I think, again, you've got a situation where if Richard goes, that raises further questions over the future of Arne Slot. Now, I know that David Ornstein, made those comments that he did, regarding Arne Slot. He talked about the fact that, that the club is doubling down on its support, is backing the manager, that it sees him for the long term, yada, yada, yada. However, to me, those comments just don't add up. They don't add up. They don't add up for two reasons, okay? They don't add up for two reasons. One, I think, and this is a fact-based approach now, is that if Arne Slot is the man long term that FSG see as taking this club forward for the long term, then why is there no new contract on the table? Why has, allegedly this bit, the talk of that new contract been taken away by the club? If Arne was the man, then surely they would have tied him down to a contract extension by now. If they saw him as long-term, being the guy to take the club forward, a new contract would be on that table and been in the process of negotiating. Now, as far as we are aware, from some very good sources, from journos who are in the know, from journos who are linked heavily to the club, the Paul Joyces of this world, for example, David Lynch's, etc., etc., there are no new contracts on the table for Arne Slot presently. So why would you let a man who you think is your long-term answer as manager enter the last 12 months of his deal if you thought he was the long-term answer to your coaching problems? To me, it doesn't add up. And I think the truth of the situation is that there will be a root and branch review. There will be a look at this at the end of the season as to the future of Arne Slot, as to the direction the club is currently going in terms of players, in terms of everything. So I do feel to some degree that those comments by David Ornstein weren't 100% true. The other reason why I kind of pour very much a lot of cold water onto these talks in terms of, the whole situation. Is I just find that the Athletic is becoming a bit of a joke. It's becoming a mouthpiece for the club. It went into full PR mode the other day. I mean, these were comments. This is from X. On the Athletic. This is what was said. Simon Hughes, obviously, who is one of the major people at the Athletic on the football side of things, said this: "I think he, Slot, has earned the right to get Liverpool out of this situation. I can understand people's frustrations, but I think there's a huge amount of mitigation of what he's had to deal with this season. We've spoken many times about Diogo Jota, and it feels like a bit of a cop-out, but there's no doubt that starting a Premier League season and title defence, not even 5 weeks after one of your players has died in a car crash, I don't know how he even managed to get the team together to be honest." Now, I find the whole using of Diogo's death as disgusting. I think it's disgusting. I think it's absolutely pathetic, that they're using this as an excuse. I think it's disgusting. And it's almost like he's trotting this out from the club. And the whole thing, him, Adam Crafton, there was something from Adam Crafton as well the other day that I read. The Athletic's gone into full PR, Liverpool PR, mode. And we saw, from Chris Edwards the other day, Chris Williams, was it? Chris Williams, I think his name is, coming out the other day and saying that basically the club that are using WhatsApp briefings, bullying tactics to get certain media journos to report what they want and to toe the club's line. So I just think the whole stuff from the Athletic is tainted. It's tainted. It's tainted with the fact that the Athletic is not a serious publication. It's not a serious place to go for information. The Athletic's a joke. It's a joke. It's basically Liverpool FC PR department. That's what it is. That's what it's become. They've sold their soul out. And look, serious journalist, if you're a serious journalist, you are there to investigate. You are there to push. You are there to tell the truth. You are there to expose lies. You are there to be that. I know that's an idealistic look at it. Yeah, we're not all, Watergate reporters and all that. But the Athletic to me is a sellout. It's a sellout, and it's just a joke. So I think we put very little context behind that whole situation in terms of that. And like I said, this whole situation around the manager will, I think, obviously be decided in the summer. Hopefully, I mean, realistically, if Liverpool were to go out to Galatasaray tonight, you'd hope that he would get the sack tonight. But I can't see it happening. Even if I think, for what it's worth, I think Liverpool will win tonight. I think they will beat Galatasaray because, to me, it seems whenever Liverpool are in a position where it's a next time we lose, he's gone, they always seem to find a way to win. So I do think Liverpool will win tonight for what it's worth. I think they'll get their arses handed to them by PSG in the next round, but, God, Arne Slot will cream his pants over the fact that we're playing PSG again, but, there we go. So I do feel, however, that root and branch review will take place. I do feel that obviously there's a question mark over Richard Hughes' future now. It's not concrete that he's going. But I also believe that Arne Slot, if he does not win something this season, which is looking more and more doubtful, even if we get Champions League football, finish 5th or finish 4th, he still needs to be sacked at the end of the season. He has just kicked the life out of this club. He has sucked the enthusiasm. Everything that Jurgen built in the time that was at Liverpool, this manager that we currently have has destroyed and torn down and pulled apart and turned us into a pale shadow of what we were under Jurgen Klopp. A club that everyone feared, a club that had fear factor, a club that you didn't want to play, that you absolutely were scared of. We saw Pep Guardiola's comments the other day. Real Madrid were not my toughest opponent. Jurgen Klopp's Liverpool were. We see that he was a manager that's held in huge respect by other managers. And I just feel that this manager now has destroyed everything that Jurgen's built. Everything that Jurgen's built has been torn to pieces. Right, look, guys, let's move on and talk about the game tonight. Look, Galatasaray away. Obviously, Galatasaray will not have any of their own fans in the ground. They're banned from the stadium tonight. Why are they banned? Well, apparently they're banned for a pyrotechnics display and fireworks and flares that they let off away in Turin in the last round against Juventus. Let's face it, that was a game they were very, very lucky to win at the end of the day. You go back to that game against Juve, and yes, the first leg they smashed Juve 5-2. Away from home, it was close in the end. It was 3-2. Juventus were down at 10 men. They went 3-0 up in that game to pull it back, and actually had a chance late on to actually win it and go through 4-0. Gala's defence was absolutely all over the place, and it was only in extra time when Victor Osimhen and Yilmaz then score to take take advantage of a 10-man tired Juventus team to beat them. They went through. So, and they lost as well. They lost 3-2. Now, obviously, a 3-2 tonight takes it to extra time and takes it to penalties. So look, I don't rate Gala away from home. I still think their defence is very, very dodgy. They have a very, very shaky defence. Their goalkeeper isn't great. Their back four, they will be without Davinson Sanchez, who is suspended. Now, look, I don't think Davinson Sanchez is a top centre half. Of course he isn't. You look at their team beyond that. They're not. They're basically the best analogy I heard of Galatasaray as a team was basically their Victor Osimhen and 10 other blokes. And that's about the best analogy I've heard. Victor Osimhen and 10 other blokes. They rely on Osimhen. Osimhen is too good to be at Galatasaray. Osimhen should be playing in one of Europe's top 5 leagues. He should be in Italy or Spain or Germany or in the Premier League. He should be in one of those leagues. He is too good to be playing at Galatasaray. He is he's a pain in the arse and he falls over and he does cheat quite a lot, but he still is one hell of a player. He is still one hell of a player. Lamina couldn't get in the Southampton team. Torreira, he's finished. Lang was sold by PSV. Doesn't look the same player. Yes, he's fast. Yes, he's aggressive. Yes, he is a worry on the break. Yilmaz is rapid. Of course he is. And is a worry on the break. Sara was playing for Norwich, for God's sake. In the Championship. This is not a guy who's gone from playing for a top team to playing for Galatasaray. He's gone from playing for Norwich. Yes, Victor Osimhen is their threat. He is their main threat. And there'll be a threat on the break. Of course there'll be a threat on the break. Of course there'll be a danger to Liverpool tonight. Liverpool have to come and try and win the game. We've got to score 2 clear goals to win. So we're going to have to come out and play them. So yes, on the break they will be a threat. And the pace of Lang and the pace of Yilmaz will be a threat out wide. Especially if, Liverpool go with attacking fullbacks Kerkez and Frimpong and push forward, which I feel they might tonight. I really hope he doesn't play Dom Szoboszlai at right back. We'll talk about that in a moment. But, you look at Victor Osimhen this season. He's got a phenomenal record. In the league, he's played 19 times for them, scored 12 goals, 4 assists, so 16 goal contributions in 19. In the Champions League, and this is, look, you can say what you want about the Turkish league, about it being a bit of a joke or it being not great league. But in the Champions League, he's made 9 appearances, 7 goals, 3 assists, 10 goal contributions in 9 games. Victor Osimhen is a very, very good player. And will be a threat tonight. Will be a huge threat for Liverpool tonight. He really will. He will cause Liverpool a lot of concerns. And like I said, on the break, they're going to be a threat. On the break, they're going to be a worry. Like I said, the big 3 for me, obviously, there is Osimhen, it's Yilmaz, it's Lang. And the pace out wide that they can get. And if Liverpool's fullbacks get caught high up the pitch, you've got that threat with, obviously, Lang and Yilmaz running in behind us, and obviously and being hit on the break is always a worry in Europe, especially when you've got to go out and win games. Especially when you've got to go out and attack to win. How Liverpool approach tonight, God only knows. If it was Klopp, we would go out there, we'd aggressively high press, we'd go after them, we'd really push hard. I've got to say, I did read a really concerning statistic over this whole press situation at Liverpool and the lack of a press this season. This was on X. It was a guy. Where's the quote? It was a guy called Bence Boschak who wrote it. He said, "Last season, Florian Wirtz ranked amongst the top 10 Bundesliga players for pressing duels. Hugo Ekitike ranked amongst the top 25 in the Bundesliga for high pressing. This season, they are both outside the top 50 Premier League players for the same metric. That's scary." Moving to a different league, you're definitely expecting a little bit of a drop-off, but not a huge drop-off. Szoboszlai, in his first season in the Premier League, finished among the top 25 players after ranking in the top 5 Bundesliga, although a role change did impact him in his playing a bit deeper at Liverpool. But you don't expect such a drastic decline in numbers in reference to Wirtz and Ekitike. Ultimately, pressing was both Wirtz and Ekitike's strengths in the Bundesliga. Now it's turned into a weakness. For me, the blame lies with Slot's system and maybe even the lack of intensity in training that has been speculated about. it's obviously going to have a massive impact on their intensity and their fitness. Just from such a sudden drop-off in numbers for both Ekitike and Wirtz, it makes me think Slot is responsible rather than the other way round. And that, for me, is spot on. The way that Slot plays has taken away from what these players can do. And that's the worry for me tonight, is that you've got Wirtz, you've got Ekitike who can go out there, they can high press, they can win the ball back, they can hit fast and quick and aggressively. Sort of thing that Jurgen would have loved. I mean, can you imagine Ekitike and Wirtz under Jurgen Klopp, what they would have done to Galatasaray or to any team in the Premier League? They would have been absolute pressing monsters. They would have been absolute scary, huge, scary monsters in this league and in the Champions League. But they've had that killed from them because of the way that Slot plays. Slow, boring, deliberate build-up play that just doesn't show an identity, it doesn't show a shape, it doesn't show a form. It's just poor football from beginning to end, and it's a major concern. It's a major concern the way he's got us playing. It's like I've said on a number of occasions. Slot doesn't send a team out to win a game like Jurgen did. Slot sends a team out not to get beat, and to hold the ball, and to hold what we have, and to keep a point, and that's it. He doesn't want to go out there and attack and get after people and be aggressive in the press. He doesn't want to go out there and cause other teams problems. He wants to just basically hold the ball, and that's boring. It doesn't work. It's ineffective. Now, it's slightly more effective in Europe, where the speed is a little bit slower than the Premier League, but in the Premier League, it just doesn't work, particularly against low block. You play less low block in Europe because teams are more willing to come out and play in Europe, as we've seen. Even Karabag came and had a go. Whereas in the Premier League, you've got teams that are going to sit back, that are going to defend, that don't want to come to Anfield and have a go at Liverpool because they know they'll get smashed. So that's part of the reason why taking that high press away, taking that aggressive press away that Slot has done this season has caused an awful lot of problems this season. And that's on him. That's purely on him as a manager and what he's done to this club. And like I said, he has absolutely destroyed this football club with his negative, boring football. Now, let's look at some statistics leading into tonight's game. Now, these are the last 5 meetings between Liverpool and Galatasaray. They've won 3 of the last 5. We've won 1, and there's been 1 draw. So Liverpool have actually won 1 of our last 5 games against Galatasaray. Yes, that was at Anfield, 3-2. Funnily enough, that would take it to extra time and penalties. But you look at the last 5 games. So obviously the most recent one, the first leg in Istanbul, was 1-0. The league phase game this last year, which was still in this season, 1-0. Then you go back to December 2006, the 3-2 away in Istanbul, a defeat. Then on the 27th of September 2006, Liverpool win 3-2 at Anfield. And there was a 1-1 back in 2002 as well. So, look, the record against Galatasaray isn't the best. Yes, at Anfield, we did win against them. But overall, the record against Gala is not great. They have a much better record against us than we have against them. They've won 3 out of the last 5. Yes, those 3 victories have come at home. Galatasaray's form in the Champions League away from home isn't great. I think I've heard somewhere they've lost 20 of their last 25 games away from home in the Champions League. So look, it is kind of that Rams Park is a bit of a weapon. It is a major, reason why they do get points, they do get through in competitions, because of the fact they have that home atmosphere. Their ability away from home isn't as good. We can see that. So that's where we're up to in terms of their form. It is a concern. It is a bit of a worry coming into the game tonight that record against them isn't great. And I think part of the big worry as well tonight is no one knows what Liverpool will turn up tonight. Really no one knows what's going to happen. And it's depressing. I think, you go back, like I said, a couple of seasons, in this game tonight, if Jurgen Klopp was the manager, we'd all feel super confident that Liverpool will go there tonight at Anfield. The Anfield will be roaring, and it will be an easy game. 3-4-0, 5-0, smash them to smithereens, because they're not a good side. They're not a good side. If you took them and put them in the Premier League, they'd be a mid-table team in the Premier League. They tried to play football against us and then kind of reverted to long ball. and blocking and slowing down the game. They kind of resorted to that. I think tonight, again, they'll low block. They'll slow the game down as much as possible. They'll spoil. They'll fall over. They'll feign injury. They'll slow the game down as much as is humanly possible. That is what they will do tonight. They don't want to come and play football tonight because they know they'll probably get beat if they do. So it's a weird one. It's a very, very, very weird one. In terms of the team for tonight's game, look, this is not what I would go with, and I don't think it's what the manager will go with. I tried when I was put this team together to go a little bit of what I would like and a little bit of what I think Slot will do. I can't. First of all, I think the thing that jumps out there is he ain't going to drop Gakpo. There's no way he's going to drop Cody Gakpo. As bad as Cody Gakpo has been this season, and he has been absolutely dreadful. And I think a lot of that is down to the fact that there is nobody in this team to push him. If you go back to Cody over the last season where he had Luis Diaz constantly on his back, constantly pushing him, then, he played a lot better. And I don't think he's doing that this season because there is literally no one pushing him at all for his place. Now, obviously Alisson in goal, that's a given. You're not going to start Mamashvili in this tie. You're going to start your best goalkeeper. Alisson is one of the best keepers in the world still, so he will start. I would go with Frimpong at right back, especially with the news that Joe Gomez is injured. You really tonight cannot, under any circumstances, put Dominic Szoboszlai at right back. If we see a team tonight with Dominic Szoboszlai at right back, he's surrendering the midfield straight away to them, and that is just the wrong thing to do. The moment you move Dominic Szoboszlai, who is our best midfield player, probably our best player this season, out of the midfield, and you put him at right back, especially when you've got right backs you can play there, Joe Gomez in the last game, Jeremy Frimpong, it just beggars belief. It really does beggar belief, and it doesn't work. You take way too much energy, way too much effort, way too much talent out of that midfield. By taking Dominic Szoboszlai out of that midfield, you just destroy it to me. And I'll be honest with you, it's just a huge, huge mistake. So I really hope that he goes with Frimpong at right back, especially obviously as Gomez is out. I think he'll go with Konate. Now he's back. He confirmed yesterday that Konate had some discomfort in his hamstring. That's the reason he missed the game on Sunday. So I think Konate and Van Dijk. I think you bring Kerkez back in. Look, I love Robbo to bits. I didn't think Robbo played well on Sunday. I think you go with Kerkez. You've got to be more attacking tonight. You've got to get forward. And to me, Milos Kerkez is the man. Now, my midfield, I'd like to see Trey Neone in the six. It ain't going to happen. I think Neone's more progressive. I think he wins more duels. I think he's a more forward-thinking player. I think Gravenberch this season hasn't been great, but he ain't gonna drop Ryan Gravenberch. Let's get that straight. Dom Szoboszlai in the 8 and Wirtz in the 10. That's what I'd like to see. I think Wirtz will be key tonight. He will be the man that kind of tries to make Liverpool tick, that tries to push on, that tries to be aggressive, that tries to create the chances to win Liverpool the game tonight. Salah out wide right. Look, I know Salah hasn't been great this season, but there is little to no other option out there. And it's the promise that he may be able to do something. If he isn't performing, take him off after 60, take him off after 50, whatever. Rio and Gamoa, to me, has to start tonight. When you need to attack, when you need to get at opposition, you've got to put someone there who's going to do it. And what was scary was on Sunday, was the tactic was just give the ball to Rio and hope he can do something. That seemed to be the tactic. That all these experienced professionals were looking at a 17-year-old kid to do their job for them. And Jamie Carragher was right. And I know Arne Slot said he disagreed with it. But we are a team of individuals. We're not a team. We're a team of individuals. We're Moments FC. We rely on individual moments of brilliance to win games, not team play. And Ryan Gamoa is capable of individual brilliance. And he's played 2 games. He started 2 games. He's been man of the match in both. He's aggressive. He's attacking. To me, he would cause them all sorts of problems. For what it's worth, I think he'll start Gakpo out there. Huge mistake. Just shows what a negative, boring manager he is. But for me, Ryan Gamoa has to start tonight to make a difference. I think obviously Ekitike up top. There is no other option. He is our only fit centre forward at this moment in time. So that's my team. Whether that will be the team or not, I don't know. I mean, I could see him even going with Grav, McAllister and Szoboszlai and putting Wirtz on the wing if he doesn't play Gakpo. I think that's a possibility. But I just can't see him dropping Gakpo, if I'm being honest. he just seems to have some weird fascination with Cody Gakpo, who this season has been genuinely dreadful and wouldn't get in a lot of championship teams this season. He really wouldn't. You know, my partner and her family are all Cov fans. And suppose he wouldn't get in the Cov team at the moment. I genuinely wouldn't. He's that bad. Guys, in terms of predictions, look, I think Liverpool will go through tonight. I think it will be a 2-0 victory for Liverpool tonight. I think it will be just enough to get through. Like I said, PSG coming up next. I don't see Liverpool beating PSG. Really, really don't. Really don't see them beating PSG. Guys, obviously, please let me know what you think. Let me know your predictions for tonight. Let me know your lineups for tonight. Drop me some comments. Let me know how you're feeling at this moment in time as a Liverpool fan going into the rest of the season. Where you think realistically we can finish. Whether you think realistically what is achievable by this team if this manager is still the manager until the end of the season. Guys, look, we're trying to build a channel. Please obviously help us out. Thank you for watching the Anfield review. As always, guys, it's been an absolute pleasure speaking to you. We'll catch you really soon here on the channel. Best way to make sure you don't miss out, hit the sub, ring the bell, then you'll never miss out on our lives, our videos, and all our stuff that goes out. Thanks for watching. Catch you soon.